Grazie Lucio, grazie a tutti. It's a huge honor for me to be here and share some things with you because my colleague and friend Marie may not be here to present the last conference. I will replace her. And so I will have two very different conferences. One is more about neuropsychology and cognitive assessment, because this is something that we need in dementia care. And I would like to share with you what Cameron learned to me. Look at people with different eyes, especially when the deficits and the dementia is very severe. Because this is what Maria Montessori learned to us also. When we look the world with different eyes, many different outcomes happens. This is also what we have seen before Cameron in this amazing presentation of the farm program here in the region. In my first professional life, I was a neuropsychologist. I've made a lot of cognitive assessment. I've been trained to look at the deficits, and I was very good in that. And I couldn't see the marvel that were in front of me. Many abilities shown by a person with dementia, even with MMSE score to 0. What was wrong with that? There is fundamental assumption in the usual tool to assess persons with dementia. They have been created to assess deficits, maybe for having a diagnosis, also to follow the evolution of the dementia, to look how things are getting worse and worse and worse, and scores are going low. Many of them has been created, in fact, for assessment of pharmaceutics treatment. For example, MMSE, also especially severe impairment battery that we use a lot in France, United States, SIB. But there is a question, a huge question. When we speak about persons, when we speak about caregiver, families, staff, professionals, how does it help? What information are these tools giving to us? The fact that it doesn't help. It doesn't help us to create what we could call a plan of care. It only leads us to consider the person with what she cannot do anymore. It locked our mind. So we have been thinking about that a lot with Cameron Camp, and we decided to try to create a new assessment tool, a new way of assessing person with dementia that would focus on what works, what are the abilities that remain in the person, what are the potentialities of the person. Also in that tool, we wanted to include what is the level of help that the person needs to succeed. Most of assessment tools have been created to try to make the person fail. In fact, we create condition and we look, is this person failing? That's the logic in usual tools. We decided to make the opposite. How to make the people succeed? What level of help does she need? So this is what we look, and so we can build a plan of care with this information. Very different way of thinking. So we call that instrument Montessori Assessment System. It is based on 8 activities that involve a lot of abilities that are not usually assessed by assessment tools. The goal is to maximize, as I told, chance of success for the person. And so we will use, I will detail a little bit more in 1 minute, different level of help for each activity. We also, and this is very important for us, ask questions in that, for each activity in that assessment tool. Especially when we finish an activity with the person, we ask her, did you enjoy doing that? Very important question for many reasons. First, we assess the ability in the person to give opinion, to express opinion. Persons with severe dementia are not supposed to be able to give opinions. In fact, they are very good in that. So did you enjoy that? It will also help us to know what the person like or don't like. It's very important information also. Would you like to do that another time? And the person feels in control. We don't decide for her. We let her guide us. Maria Montessori said, the child guides us. We said the person with dementia guides us. And this is a way to achieve that goal. Also, we apply a lot of Montessori principle when we use the tool during the administration. We give invitation. Would you like to give us opinion about these activities? Would you like to do this, that, and so on? We give choice all along the administration. We present activities at a slow pace. You know that, Montessorian here know that, very important. We use demonstration. And if needed, the activities may be presented separately. If the person feels tired, bored, wants to stop, that's very easy. We can divide the activity in smallest activities. So, 4 levels of help. Sorry, this is Franglish. I practiced, no, that's a joke, Franglish between cameras. 4 levels of helps. First, we present the activity with complete verbal instruction, more than 1 step. And we look, is it okay for the person? Does it allow to succeed? If not, we will divide the activity and present it step by step, orally. If not, we will use demonstration, motor demonstration. And if it still doesn't work, we will use hand-by-hand guidance, very slowly. So we can see what is the level of help that allows the person to succeed. And that is the kind of information we want to translate into the real-life setting. For example, if a person is not able to understand verbal instruction, but when we use a demonstration, then the person is able to do the activity or the task. It is a very important information for caregivers, for example, for brushing teeth, as Cameron explained this morning, for clothing, washing oneself. All of these may be transferred very easily into real life. So here is a quick presentation of the activities that we created for this. First activities, of course, like in Montessori schools, involve hand washing. We invite the person to wash their hands. It is a very simple 3-step task, but very important. Also for hygiene questions. I've heard so many times that persons with dementia inside nursing homes may not handle food, for example, because of hygiene. But if we can show that they are able to wash their hands, then it becomes very easy. So 3-step hand washing task, first task. Second task involved reading. And we first start to try to assess the size of the font that the person needs to be able to read. We know from research that for persons with dementia, older adults, sometimes we need a larger font. So we will assess what is the font needed. And then we will read a text. The examiner and the person with dementia, each other will read 1 page, and then the other, and then the other. And we look, is the person able to read the story? In the French version, it's out loud, of course. Thank you, Cameron. It's a story about champagne, because it comes from France, of course. Is the person able to follow when another person is reading out loud? And then after, we ask questions. Of course, we won't ask questions about the text. We are speaking about persons who have memory impairments. But questions about themselves, about them remembering, old remembering, about what they like. Do you like to drink champagne? We have an interesting outcome in the study results. 100% said yes, of course. When did you like to drink champagne? So we created a discussion. And we have seen that many people are able to give opinion, speak about themselves, sharing things about themselves. Very important abilities, of course. Another very short activity involved visual perception. Are the people able to perceive contrast? Are the people able to perceive depth? This is very important to adapt the environment, to create prepared environment in their room, in the common rooms, and so on. Montessorian knows a lot about category sorting activities. We have created category sorting activities, for example this one, and we asked the person to sort photos of faces into two kinds of emotions, happy, not happy. It assesses a lot of things. The use of templates, the black templates that guides the person where to put the photo, where to put the label. And as Cameron gave examples, we can transfer this into the real life setting to learn person where to put the answers, hearing aids, and so on. Also, we can assess, is the person able to identify physical emotion? They are not supposed to be able. We have shown in our study that, in fact, they are. Another kind of category sorting activity is water, land. So it's more about semantic knowledge. We tried also to use words without photos. Are they able to use this kind of information? But remember, in Montessori, one very important principle is that there is no wrong or right. So we never correct the person. Whatever the answer is, they explain us, they argue, they give us many important information, but we don't correct them. They guide us. These kind of activities assess a lot of competencies and abilities. Another activity involves transfer. Picking small pipe balls in the box with a nice ice cream scoop and bringing them into the matching balls. So there is matching colors, color identification, we ask them to name them. Also using motor skill. If they're not able to use this, we also can use a tweezers to pick the balls, okay, or the end. So we always try to help the person to succeed. Many important information in this activity, especially that can be transferred about food. Because if the person is able to do this activity, okay, catching the ball, moving, then this may be transferred about food, feeding and stuff. Another activity involves using a dressing vest that has been adapted. Montessorians know this very well. And this, once again, involves many important skills that can be transferred into real life setting. You understand how it is important. And as usual, I remind you this very important information, different level of help. First, complete verbal instruction, then step-by-step verbal instruction if needed, then showing, demonstrating, and finally, hand-by-hand guidance. Also, there is the use of a button. You can see that the male and female version are different. I've learned that from this study and this tool, because the buttons are not in the same side in the male and female clothes. Also, there is the use of a little scratch here, because if the person is not able to use button, then we can use scratch. You understand? Velcro. Come on. He's my guide. Also, this is in the activity. We involved also folding clothes, putting in a bag, and so on. Finally, maybe my favorite. In traditional assessment, a cognitive assessment tool, we ask this stupid and crazy question to persons with dementia. Many of these tools starts with this question: what is the date today? What is the complete date today? Frankly speaking, who is crazy? They have dementia. They live usually in nursing home where every days are the same, and we ask them what is the date. And usually the examiner, to correct the answer, check on his calendar. But they may not use calendar. This is crazy. So what we did is the opposite. In the usual assessment tool, it's how to make them fail. We created this very simple calendar that is in front of them. At the end of the assessment, if the person has shown that the person is able to read, we ask the question, oh, I have to fill my form. Would you please help me? Do you know what is the date today? And of course they have the calendar in front of them. So we look, is the person using this by herself? If not, verbal cue, I think it's written on the calendar. If not, demonstration, pointing. We have shown in our research that 85% of the person who had a 0 at the MMSE orientation score had the maximum points using this. So we created a way to reorient them. And of course, we showed that they are able to use external aids. If they cannot store the information externally, we can show here that they can use it externally. If the information may not be stored internally because of the memory deficits, we can store it externally. It's about the date, about where they live, about the next visit of their relatives, and so on. So it is very important rehabilitation tool. Okay, so quite quickly, we can obtain quantitative scoring for each activity and a total score for follow-up. But the most important part is qualitative observational data. We can identify approximately 80 different abilities with all of these tasks. Motor skill, gross fine motor skill, sensory skill, social and communication skills, where they interact with another person, and finally cognitive skill. So this is very important information to build plan of care. Also, we will collect data about the different level of help they need to succeed. So, I'm very pleased to tell you that yesterday our study was published officially. I just received the email yesterday, so I'm very glad about it. It was a long journey, really. So the study involved nearly 200 persons with moderate to severe dementia living in nursing home in France. We made this study with the University of Montpellier. So we validate the tool, especially, but this is not the most important thing, I think. But all the psychometrics data were very good. This is a valid and reliable tool. Very high interjudge fidelity, test 3, test fidelity, all the scores were very good. So it is validated, it may be used. We have some interesting other data. Speaking of person with severe dementia, people like me who made assessment knows that sometimes it's very challenging to finish the assessment. 83% of the person who were in the study finished the MAS, all the activities, but I have to say that the 17% that didn't achieve the assessment, it was especially because of a motor reason, especially for the dressing vest activity. Most of them made it in one time. We didn't think it would happen, but it happened. And maybe the most interesting, the people that were involved in the study had major behavioral challenges, agitation, aggression, but we found no link between the presence of behavioral problems and the ability to achieve it. In fact, what happened was very interesting. At the end of the assessment, the examinators asked the person, was it okay? Did you enjoy doing this? Would you like to do that again? And they said, oh yes, of course, it was nice, which is very different of what we hear in the usual assessment conditions. To conclude, we created a tool that is now valid and validated to identify preserved abilities in persons with moderate to very severe dementia. It has been very well received. The assessment was well received by the person who received it. And it gives crucial informations about abilities of the person, the help they need to build different kind of plan of care, to let the person do things by herself, not do the task for them, because as you know, as Maria Montessori said, everything you do for me, you're taking away from me. Now we have a tool that allows us to let them do by themselves, and we will help them to achieve that, thanks to that tool. So thank you for your attention about this tool. My hope is to disseminate this tool into the world. So maybe there could be an Italian version of it. Be ready for that. Thank you very much for this attention. And now, another conference. I will jump to something a little bit different, but very related to this. And also related to what Karen presented and also to what you presented, Christina. The topic is the extraordinary ordinary. Of course, we have found these words in the words of Maria Montessori. We will speak about what Montessori knows very well is practical life activities. First time I was in a Montessori school, so it was in your school, I've seen many strange activities. Children from 3 to 6 achieving real life activities. It was surprising for me. But when we transfer this into dementia care, interesting things happen. This is what we will speak about. I first would like to honor this incredible woman that was born in this city, not so far from here. Oops. Okay. By quoting her, so I will translate it in English, she says something like that. I disagree with the fact that I would be the greatest educator of this century. Because what I did is only to observe and study the child, to receive and take and express for him what he gave to me. This is what we call Montessori method. Observing, let him live. We've spoken about that, Cameron spoke about that. Every useless help is an impediment to the development of the person. Everything you do for me, you take it away from me. Locked in his limits, he will be unable to validate himself and won't be able to adapt himself to the outside world. This is true for children, of course. This is also true for persons with dementia. And sadly, most of the time, everywhere in the world, this is what happens. We only look at the deficits. We try to protect the person against everything that could happen. And by doing this, we take them the life away. This is very interesting for persons working with children or with dementia. The best way to fight again what we could call back pain, scoliosis, okay, of children at school is to change the way they work. What is needed is a conquest of liberty and not better chairs. This is so true for persons with dementia. We have created a crazy system. In nursing home, in dementia care, it is very likely to see that things happen. Persons that are walking, and what we ask them is, please sit here. We try to keep them seated. And what happens with this is that the muscles, they have muscles atrophy. And to fight this, we put physical therapy once or twice a week. This is crazy. As in Montessori schools with children, what they need is movement, manipulation, to be active and engaged. This is true for children. This is true for persons with dementia. Practical life activities. To satisfy human tendencies. Everything we do comes from Maria Montessori. It's fascinating for me. Reading her book, looking in Montessori school, the inspiration is there. Look at this child, but this is not surprising for you. It's only surprising when I show that kind of picture in a person who doesn't know Montessori. But now try to start to imagine older adults with dementia, even severe dementia, doing the same. We know from research that being engaged in meaningful activities has many positive outcomes. Many. We have seen some examples a little bit soon. As Cameron showed, reduction in behavioral problems, better mood, better positive affect. Of course, better quality of sleep, because when you're active during the day, strange things happen during the night. People are sleeping. Better cognitive functioning, that has been shown. Better physical health. Better independence and autonomy, because of course if you do nothing, you lose your abilities and skills. Cameron showed it just before. Reduction in psychotropic medication. Sometimes huge reduction. Or complete reduction. And maybe the most important, Christina, you spoke about it, better quality of life. So this is treatment. This is treatment. If you look at these are all the challenges usually associated to dementia. This is treatment. This is not only, doing some activities, having some fun like in a hotel during the holidays. No. It's much more important. This is giving a life to the person. So what do we mean by activities? That's a very important question. Many times, at least in France, I don't know how to say that in Italy, but people think we are speaking about animation. Animation is important, leisure activities, of course. But this is not. Thanks to God, I have leisure activities sometimes when I don't work, not so often. But I also have many other activities. I take care of my environment, of my children. I don't know, I work, not so much. I have many activities. Activities are everything we do. And as we see persons with dementia as our equal, you remember, respect, dignity, equality. If I need more than leisure activities, so do they. This is a huge challenge in dementia care, how to provide activities. We don't have enough time, we don't have enough staff, all of this. In fact, the resources are just in front of your eyes, waiting for this. We have created a crazy system. People with dementia seated on the chairs, sleeping, waiting for something to do, and professionals and staff members exhausted, doing much too much. For example, snack time, 4 o'clock in France at least. It is a very hard time for staff members. Many things to manage. They have to serve the snack, prepare it, cut it, serve the drinks, also manage behavioral problems, try to awake residents that are sleeping, and so on. But look, just these. How many activities are involved in this? A lot of. Who should do that? Who should be proposed to do that? Who should be invited to do that? I have a guess. Usually when I explain this, people are thinking, yes, but you should see my residents. They have severe cognitive impairments, severe motor impairments, severe sensory impairments. And that is true. But what we do in Montessori is to adapt the activity to the person, especially to the ability. This is why we need an assessment of the abilities. We don't look at the deficits, it locked us. We look what is this person able to do, and we build what we propose on this. Very short speaking, here are 4 principles for us to adapt activities to the person. First, knowing the person. I guess if I had to propose activities to, for example, this man, I know him a little bit, and you, Christina, probably it won't be the same activities. You don't come from the same place, you are not exactly the same age, you are not the same persons. It's very easy to understand. What you have presented, this was meaningful activities for a person living in this region. It makes sense to the person. First, know the person, not the disease, the person. Second, we have spoke about it, build on preserved abilities. Identify preserved abilities. Third, adapting the environment. Karen gave some examples this morning. And the material. Exactly like in Montessori school. And finally, change ourselves. We'll try, not easy always, to learn the staff members not to do the task for the person, not to guide the person, but only to be the enabler. We try to learn them to do the least, only what is needed, and then step back and let the person do. We also learn them to use grace and courtesy. Very important to engage persons. I've heard this word before, not so far from me. Perugia, Congress last year. So we adapt the material. Probably this will remind you some things. How to set the table, like I've seen in Montessori schools. The trail, only the material needed in the activity. We avoid distractors to help focusing. It created a contrast between the table and the trail, so it helped the person to guide. You know all of these things. These are very important Montessorian principles. So let's come back to the snack chariot. You remember? And let's see what it's possible to do as activities for persons with dementia. Pushing the chariot. This is a very important activity. And I've learned that there is always an and in Montessori. This is physical therapy. If the person does that every day, she doesn't need physical therapist. I hope there is no physical therapist in the room. Sorry, you will have to find another job. Yes. This is living. Also, there is a need of preparing the snack. Who should do that? Pouring glasses of water, very important. And when you look, you can see the similarities of what we see in Montessori school and in Montessori dementia care units. Another important Montessori principle is from simple to complex, progressively. So at first we will let the person pour one glass, and then glasses for everyone, for the community, having a role in the community. I don't have enough time to show you the video, this video, but I have to tell you, this is from a special dementia care unit for persons with severe dementia, behavioral problems. And this woman is quite incredible. No, I don't have time. She will prepare and serve the coffee for every member in the community. The fact is that she has not been trained to do that. It happened the day after the training. Staff tried it, asked, would you help us to serve the coffee? She said, yes, of course, and she started to do that. And just before, as in Cameron's video, she had severe behavioral problem. This is a very different outcome. I have to show you that video to explain to you what we do. In that nursing home, residents decided themselves that they wanted to eat different food. They wanted vegetable. They didn't want too much food in the evening. They wanted just a fresh soup every day. So, interesting activity also. Many skills needed. It takes a village to prepare a soup. All of these persons are living in a dementia unit. This woman has a MMSE score 0. And please, when you look at them, ask yourself this question. Where is the dementia? And where are the staff members? Observing. What abilities remains? What do we want to see?
Je crois qu'il va falloir que vous mettiez les épluchures de côté, hein. Il n'y avait plus de place.
Normal person doing an important job. This is what they are. Look at this woman. She has hemiplegia. She's not able to use her right arm. And they adapted the material to fit the abilities. Look at this closely. And now she's able to fulfill this important role, to be a part of the community. This is what we speak about. We don't need to create crazy activities. We have this in front of us. This is only living. Also, after having cut the vegetable, of course you need to prepare the soup. Who should do that? I've seen the same in Montessori schools, 3 to 6, exactly. Imagine a place that we could call Casa degli Anziani. Of course, this is what we want to see. A prepared environment for persons with dementia to allow them to be as independent as possible. For example.
Oui, ça y est. Ça passe à la télé? Ouais.
I have to tell you that woman, she's ironing every clothes in the nursing home. Every day, important job.
Vous êtes dans la boîte? Oui.
Look at these persons. This is the same dementia unit for persons with severe behavioral problems. Where are the behavioral problems? And where are the staff members? A community living. This is physical therapy. This person was a wanderer. She was wandering everywhere in the nursing home. Not anymore. She has a purpose, important job. We are always asked about security. Montessorians know this question. Oh my God, a knife! This is dangerous! Yes. If we don't focus on the activity. What does a 3-year-old boy with a sharp knife and an orange? Something crazy. He cut the orange to have some juice. What does a person with dementia with a sharp knife and an orange? Cutting the orange. Yes. But if we remove this from these people, if we remove life from them, and we give them a knife, we should run. You understand what I mean? If we offer a prepared, positive environment, this is what's happening. Same with this. Other example of activities. I think my computer has dementia. So I have to go slow with repairing an electronic device to shave. Or another example of being part of a community. Sometimes nursing homes are very ugly. They need to be refreshed. Who should do that? What? This is living. Don't you do the same? We are equal. I was glad to hear about farms, because in that nursing home, very close to my home, where I live, residents decided to create inside the nursing home their own farm. They have built everything themselves. It's a 2-year project. And now they have goats, chicken, rabbits, and so on, and they take care of them. They are doing everything. Another example of living activity, very important, we have spoken about it a little bit before, intergenerational activities. This woman is learning, this little boy, 5-year-old boy, knitting. I think in Italy this is a very important activity. And she is learning that to him. And she has dementia. And it doesn't matter. It is irrelevant. A person and a person. 2 persons sharing together. Interestingly, the woman, you see that she was in the value of find the problem resident. She was one of the 4 residents, really. And she is presenting a Montessori activity to this little 3-year-old boy. Older adults learning things to little children. This is how it should be. This is living. So to conclude, 2 things. First, what we are speaking about is treating dementia, really, by treating persons as persons, not as having disease. By giving them a meaningful life. This is what we all need. They need this, we need this, and this is a treatment. A life in which they can express themselves. A life in which they can use their abilities, potentialities. A life in which they can contribute to the community. So, to conclude, I would like, I do that often, to give words to persons with dementia. This woman is living in a nursing home that we have trained, that apply Montessori method. This is her 4th nursing home. In the past, she was in 3 other, and she had been fired because she was too problematic. And she was interviewed by a journalist. So she will be asked, interesting question, I'll let you hear it. No sound. Little shame. She has been asked, and what is offered to you here? And the answer is very easy, 1 word, liberty. So to finish, I would like deeply thanks Maria Montessori for what she has done for the world, the way she's given to us, she's showing to us. She literally has changed many people's life, mine included, my children included. And we just follow a path. I would like also to thank this man, a friend, brother, a spiritual father, because he also shows us the path. And finally, Lucio and all of you, I would like to thank you to inviting me here. It's an honor to be here. Thank you very much.